on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive, bringing you guys a new video today talking about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee and the version exclusives for those games. Now, if you guys didn't know, it is confirmed that there are going to be version exclusives in these games, and as we've seen from pretty much every previous Pokemon game where there was two versions, they typically divvy up the Pokedex to some extent anyway to encourage people to buy both games, or at least trade with people to get the Pokemon in both games. Now, before we go any further, guys, I do want to indicate that I don't think that version exclusives are that big of a deal, especially in this situation where we can transfer Pokemon in from Pokemon Go. So I feel like it's less of a big deal than ever before, but nevertheless, still a topic that's worth talking about and still something that may sway your decision to either get Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Once you watch this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and without further ado, let's kind of jump right into things. So this is an IGN article, or a snippet from an IGN article, where Masuda did say, yes, of course, we're going to have trading in the game, and version-exclusive Pokemon will exist in Let's Go. So both Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are going to have their own version exclusives, just like Red and Blue, Firered and Leafgreen, and Sun and Moon, and so on and so forth have throughout the last few generations, and pretty much every single generation. So kind of looking back at some of the footage that we've seen, we know that the demo at E3 was a Let's Go Pikachu demo, which was shown on stage, and the reason why we know that is because he's got a Pikachu on his shoulder, so we know 100% that was Let's Go Pikachu, and there was an Oddish in the wild, so we know that in Viridian Forest, Oddish was roaming around, indicating that it's very likely that Oddish is going to be in Let's Go Pikachu. And based on some information I've read on Reddit, some people tried out some demos at E3 on the show floor, and they confirmed that Bellsprout was found in the Viridian Forest in Let's Go Eevee. So having Eevee on your shoulder playing Let's Go Eevee, there was a chance to encounter Bellsprout in the forest as opposed to Oddish, and that historically lines up pretty accurately with Red and Blue and Fire Red Leaf Green, where the various version exclusives were basically consistent with that, right? So Oddish and its evolution line, Gloom and Vileplume, as well as Bellsprout, Weepinbell and Victreebel were in separate games. So let's look at our division here between Red and Blue. So in the original Red version, we saw Ekans, Arbok, and then as the aforementioned Oddish, Gloom, Vileplume, Mankey, Primeape, Growlithe, Arcanine, and then Scyther and Electabuzz. Blue version indicated Sandshrew, Sandslash, Vulpix, Ninetales, Meowth, Persian, Bellsprout, Weepinbell, Victreebel, Magmar, and Pinsir. So a lot of these Pokemon kind of align in similar ways, right? So you got your Bellsprout and your Oddish, very similar lines. You've got your Vulpix and your Ninetales, Growlithe and Arcanine. Those are meant to kind of be similar. It seems that they kind of compared Mankey with Meowth line, Ekans with Sandshrew's line, and then, of course, Scyther and Magmar, or Scyther and Pinsir, rather, and Electabuzz and Magmar. So, I mean, that's pretty straightforward there. Typically, when they do version exclusives historically, they make the Pokemon somewhat similar, so it's like, you know, Petalil and Cottonee. So Pokemon like that have some similarities at least, or at least some sort of a storyline to them, or whatever it may be, they tend to kind of separate them between the two different games. Now, looking at Fire Red and Leaf Green, they mix things up a little bit. Now, these games were meant to be remakes of the originals, and they did tweak things. So, if anything, in my opinion, the more likely scenario is that they keep these. Now, it's obviously not guaranteed, but I feel like, and I'll talk about why I think that things could be switched up here shortly, but it is very possible that these are what the version exclusives are here. However, I do feel like there may be kind of a little wrench in those plans. But we see Ekans and Sandshrew again, Vileplume and Growlithe. One of the big switch ups is Mankey and Primeape were not left as a versus exclusive, and I feel like that was partially due to the fact that I believe Mankey was included earlier on the game to make the game a little easier for taking on Brock. So Psyduck and Golduck replaced that there. Staryu and Starmie and Shellder and Cloyster are also pretty interesting there, and Slowpoke and Slowbro. So you can kind of compare the two here. Some different Pokemon that we didn't see before. Shellder, Cloyster being added, Slowpoke, Slowbro, Staryu, Starmie. So pretty interesting. We still see the same though with Vulpix and Ninetales, Ekans, Arbok, Sandshrew, Sandslash, again, so on and so forth. And again, those couple at the end, Magmar, Pinsir, and Scyther, Electabuzz, have also been consistent between the two different games, so it's likely that those stay the same. Now, looking at Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, and historically some of the Pokemon that I feel like make a lot of sense that are definitely going to be only in Let's Go Pikachu, you see the Oddish, Gloom, Vileplume. That, I think, makes sense. Scyther and Electabuzz historically seems to be that Let's Go Pikachu aligns with Pokemon Red and Pokemon Fire Red, so I think you're going to see Scyther and Electabuzz most likely, and then I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Shellder and Cloyster also incorporated into these games, again, because I do feel like Shellder and Cloyster and then Staryu and Starmie tend to have some similarities to them in terms of like the typings and things like that, of how they would go about excluding different Pokemon from the different versions. And again, that kind of stands true here for Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, where you have your Bellsprout, you have your Weeping Bell, you have your Victory Bell. Again, Pinsir and Scyther are all alternative games, and then Magmar and Electabuzz kind of following suit there. And then again, I mentioned Staryu and Starmie. I feel like that seems pretty likely, although again, I feel really, really good about the first 5. Staryu, Starmie, and then Shelter Cloyster seem to have, you know, a possibility that they could be in the different games in terms of version exclusives as we move forward here. Now, the last thing and the last kind of thing that we discuss here is talking about the version exclusives and how basically they can mix things up, right? So one of the big wrenches, as you can see right behind me, is a Lowland Vulpix. A Lowland Vulpix, a Lowland Meowth, a Lowland Sandshrew. A lot of these Pokemon were previous, basically version exclusive, so you could only get Vulpix in one game. But I feel like there's going to be some sort of feature in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee that allows you to get those Alolan forms. So it seems unlikely, in my opinion, that they're gonna make Alolan forms be version exclusive. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but that's something I've kind of been thinking about. I find it very hard to believe that they would make the Alolan forms version exclusive, especially since they're kind of special in themselves. So I feel like the Vulpix Pokemon, I feel like when you have things like Diglett and Sandshrew, it's very possible that they get removed as version exclusives. So a couple other Pokemon that could be version exclusive: Growlithe and Ponyta. So instead of having Vulpix as a version exclusive, you have Ponyta, which I know Ponyta isn't quite the same kind of thing as Vulpix, where Vulpix is evolved by a stone evolution, whereas Ponyta is not, but they are 2-stage fire type Pokemon lines that I feel like have some similarities. You've got your Horsey and Goldeen. Again, hard to kind of compare the two. Horsey obviously much better, but it only will evolve into Kingdra in this game. So maybe, or I'm sorry, Seadra, no Kingdra. So I feel like there is some possibilities there that those two coincide. Grimer and Coughing, another really, really like kind of easy comparison to make is you have your 2 poison type Pokemon. One being Grimer, one being Coughing, and both in that situation could be version exclusives to one game or the other. And then I have things like Psyduck, Ekans, and a couple other Pokemon that kind of get mixed in there. But I think generally speaking, you know, I feel like we're gonna probably see, you know, the Oddish and the Bellsprout lines separated, you know, like I mentioned, Pinsir and Scyther, Magmar and Electabuzz, and then it feels like, you know, Shelter Cloyster, Staryu, Starmie, or some sort of kind of maybe Shelter Cloyster and then Horsey Seeking, or maybe Staryu, Starmie and Horsey Seeking, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like there's some different compatibility options there, but it does seem as though ultimately Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu coincides with Pokemon Red version, and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee coincides with Pokemon Blue or Leaf Green version in terms of how we look at the Kanto region and how those Pokemon are going to be divided up by games. So now that we've kind of talked about this, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Does this make any difference to you? Like for me personally, I feel like I would rather have Scyther over Pinsir. But in terms of the other stuff, I mean, Bellsprout versus Oddish, I like Bellsprout more, so that's kind of tricky too. So I don't know, man. Like I feel like I would definitely want to have Victory Bell over Vileplume personally. I feel like Victory Bell's a little cooler. But either way, that's just my opinion. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Is there anything here that is going to sway your opinion in terms of which game you're going to get? Maybe you don't care about the version exclusive at all. Maybe it doesn't matter to you. But I feel like it's something worth noting. If you guys haven't checked it out, I've done a lot of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee coverage on my channel. We did a video talking about Pikachu getting a stat buff, which seems like the start of Pikachu does get a huge stat buff, which is pretty cool. We've talked about a couple other of the different features in terms of how shiny mechanics probably are going to work and things like that. If you have any other ideas that you want me to cover for this game, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, let me know in the comment section below. But I think we can wrap up this video here. Very interesting stuff. I wanted to point it out because I did see the difference between the Oddish and the Bellsprout, and I felt like that was pretty relevant. So we'll see here what happens. Let me know if it sways your decision. That's gonna be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace. Thanks so much for checking out my last video. If you like that one, you'll definitely like this one. And be sure to subscribe for more as I post Pokemon videos every single day.